We're raw. It's Baitman Raw time, and I really appreciate all the guys that have been tuning in to Baitman Raw. Last episode we had Jake Lawrence on here. My man Jake, great guy, great fisherman. And this episode, gonna have a guy on here. You may have seen him on Smallmouth Crush. His name is Epic Eric, and he's a master baiter. He has got a ton of baits. He is Baitman on a whole different level. And I was really excited to have him join me on here. And matter of fact, I'm going to have to get him on a YouTube stream from his bait room where he could show you a lot of the stuff he's showing me because we're webcamming. We recorded this on Skype, and he's showing me a bunch of these homemade balsa crankbaits, and they'll just blow your mind. And that whole wood bait deal is extremely popular right now, especially since Ed Chambers passed away. The whole market for Zoom crankbaits is unreal, but there's so many good, talented builders out there. I think he was able to convey through audio a lot about this stuff, and I was really excited to do that. And he's a great guy, man, and we could talk for hours, and probably would have if I didn't have to go to work. So really excited to have Epic Eric on this episode, but want to talk about a few things first, but we gotta give a sponsor plug to 6 Cents Fishing for taking care of me on this channel and taking care of the people. Anytime you're on 6 Cents website, use that code Baitman to get 10% off if you're interested in a 6 Cents Super Sack tongue twister. We got sacks everywhere. You can use Baitman Super 6 to get $10 off your first month subscription to the 6 Cents Super Sick Sack. Or you can grab my Baitman box. Both are great options. Both have awesome baits. You're going to catch a few Jaints on their stuff. And they got so many new products coming out. It's just hard for me to keep up with. But going to plug them there. They take care of me. And we got a giveaway going up on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm going to give away a Super Six Sack. I'm going to give away a Baitman box. You can enter up to 3 times, which is basically once on all those social media platforms. So make sure you're following me there on Instagram, BaxterTheBaitman. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And then you can follow me there on Facebook as well. I got searches Kevin the Baitman Baxter. My page will pop up. Get in that contest. So shout out to them, and shout out to Barrett Chiropractor, whatever you want to call it. Dr. James Barrett here in Draftonville. He has worked a miracle on my back, and I'm back at work. And shout out to him. He took good care of me. And I'm able to get some paychecks in finally because I'm going to the Bassmaster Classic next week. Baitman's going there. I'm going to do some vlogging. I'm going to be on the water doing some filming, some photography. Going to go behind the scenes. Uh, got a little project for a local TV show I'm working on, so I'm really excited about that. I'll keep YouTube updated, so if you're subscribed to the channel and you're part of the YouTube community, I post updates on. I'll let you guys know where I'm going to be. I'll be in and out the expo and vlogging every day. I'm going to try to get a video up every morning from the previous day and really show you the whole experience I'm taking in. So really excited to be at the Bassmaster Classic. It's been about 10 years since I've been to one. I went last year, but I was only there for like 4 hours. I went to the expo and then I'll come home. But I'm going to be there for all 3 days. What better lake in the country than Gunnersville, which has been fishing awesome. Tennessee River Lake, historic for big bass, great pre-spawn fishing lake, but could be different this year. Got a lot of current, got a lot of rain, water's dingy. It's going to be a little bit more challenging than normal springtime events there. But we'll see. These are the best anglers in the world on the Bassmaster Elite Series. And that's no offense to Major League Fishing or anywhere else. The Elite Series is elite, and there's some great, great anglers over there. Speaking of Major League Fishing, I'm just going to touch on this briefly. They have done awesome with the 2 pound minimum for scoreable bass. I think the whole people saying it was a dink fest, I don't think they have an argument anymore. I really don't. Now, maybe if they're weighing a bunch of 2 pounders at Lake Fork, but it's made it a lot tougher to roll up that score tracker unless you're catching big fish. You see what Jordan Lee's done, 2 tournaments in a row. He did it there at Lake Eufaula. He had 5 that weighed 32 pounds, shot up the score tracker on all big fish. And then yesterday, during the elimination round, went from last to first with about a 4 pound average. It was pretty awesome to see, man. And God, Jordan Lee, how good is that guy? Um, I've only talked to him like twice. He bought some baits from me on the internet one time, and he tried to bum a dip from me at a Strike King event a long time ago. But he's cool. I like Jordan Lee. Those college anglers, those 2 or 3 years right there, you got Jordan Lee, Matt Lee, Dustin Connell, Clint Davis, Justin Atkins, man. All those guys are hammers. Whatever those guys are drinking in college, non-alcoholic, that's what you need to get on. Those guys just fish at such a great level. But it is Tuesday, February 25th. And, I'm not a newsbreaker or anything, but I was a little upset last night. And I follow kayak bass fishing quite a bit. I'm a big fan of it. I would like to see kayak bass fishing be another huge professional circuit. I think it has a tremendous following. It's growing every day, it seems. A guy doesn't have to spend a lot of money to get in a kayak and fish. The events are pretty well priced. But man, it seems like after every big tournament, and maybe not even a big tournament, it seems like every other week there's some kind of big controversy going on and someone's getting accused of cheating and this and that. And I don't know if it's there's so many rules or not enough rules that there's too much gray area. But someone that I'm friends with, and I'm not going to mention their name. I've known them for a long time. Had a great finish at Lake Fork at the Hobie tournament, and basically has taken a bunch of freaking heat because his little measuring board was slightly bent in a photo, and people were accusing him of purposely trying to alter the board to make his fish look bigger. And man, I've looked at it from all angles, tried to play devil's advocate, and I just don't see any way um, this guy was deliberately trying to manipulate his fish to be bigger. And here's the deal, man. It's all on video, and if Hobie or the tournament director thought he was trying to gain an advantage, it'd been taken care of. Obviously, they didn't think so. And I don't think there should be any kind of penalty for it. I think the dude's a stand-up individual, always has been. And at this point, it's just kind of jealousy. I really feel like it is. And it's something that bothers me in fishing in general. And it's kind of why I don't want to fish tournaments. Number one, I suck. So don't get that twisted. I'm just an average fisherman. But man, it's really the whole tournament scene. When guys are winning and when they're on top, people want to bring them down. People don't want to see success, especially higher level guys. They look for a reason to bring people down. I call it the Iaconelli syndrome. I'll tell you right now, Iaconelli is one of the best fishermen on the freaking planet. And for anyone to take away his credibility as a fisherman, it's a personal deal. And you know what? You don't have to like Iaconelli. I get that. You don't have to like Jacob Wheeler. Jacob Wheeler is also one of the best fishermen on the planet. But because he's not, and with no disrespect to Brian Thrift, because they're not Brian Thrift, just good old blue collar boys, they take a lot of heat. People don't like Ike because he's confident, he's bolstering, he's Ike, man. He gets excited. People are like, oh, I don't like him because every fish he catches, it's a giant. Well, you know what, dude? When I go out there and I go fishing and I get a bite and it tugs real hard, I think it's a giant too. So what if it only weighs 2 or 3 pounds? Dude's excited about fishing. You know, Jacob Wheeler, I've known Jacob. We're not best friends. I've met him several times. And I can tell you right now, he's really confident, but he can catch them. And he's proven so. You know, I hear people say, oh, well, he gets all these waypoints and he's given electronics and stuff to locals and tackle for their information and all this. Okay, big deal. Can you prove it? If not, shut up about it. I mean, it is what it is. Even when KVD was on top, people were always saying, well, he just gets the best help. That's why he's good. Man, it's really hard to catch another man's fish, whether you get help or not. You can help me all you want to. I can't catch another guy's fish. I'll sit there and spin my wheels, you know, because everybody does things different. And you can give me waypoints, but fish move. Just because you give a guy a waypoint don't mean those fish are going to be there. If it was up to me, I would make it a free for all. I always said I think Major League Baseball, heck, if steroids, whatever, just let them all do everything they want to. MMA, okay, these guys are beating the shit out of each other for a living. Who's to say they can't take growth hormone? Which I get all the regulations and stuff. You know, I'm just hypothetically speaking here. And I really think if you did away with the no info rule, the same guys winning now would be the same guys winning because you either can catch them or you can't. So that's what I'm saying. And I'll be honest, guy made a comment earlier, and maybe if he listens to this Baitman Raw, which I doubt he will, I made a comment that, you know, this whole thing about the board is why kayak bass fishing won't be taken seriously. I don't mean that as negative. I mean that as from outside perspective and sponsors looking in. They don't like all that chaos. They want a nice solid product that they're going to invest in. Things are going to happen, you know, but and this dude just kind of went off on me and says, well, Baitman, your opinion really sucks. And I just said, truth hurts. I mean, that's my opinion. Does it mean it's right? No. And then he tells me, why don't you join a page you belong? You never say anything good. You're the most negative guy on Facebook. Baitman is a prick. Hashtag. Well, I try not to be a prick. I can be really dry and really sarcastic. And part of that is because I just get tired of the BS that's in the fishing industry all the time. And I love fishing. I mean, I love fishing. I love baits more than anything. You know, baits is my deal. And I just, you know, I just told the guy, hey, you know, if you don't like my posts, you can block me. Obviously, you don't read many of mine because I really like to help people out. You know, there's always questions on there about gear and tackle and whatnot, and I try to steer people the right way. And it's okay to disagree. You know, some people are going to tell you the only line out there is fluorocarbon. That's okay. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know what? You can make it work with all fluorocarbon. And then, anyway, so I hope this guy, Mr. Joey, is listening to Baitman Raw. And I hope one day you learn something from me because I've definitely tried to put great information out there for people, whether it's in a podcast or a YouTube video or social media. And hey, it is what it is. I don't dislike it. And hopefully you'll see one of the good posts. But we're going to get over that. We're going to get into Baitman Raw. We're getting in with Eric, Epic Eric. God, man, he's got some great crankbaits. So I'm going to patch him in. And guys, I hope you enjoy it. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Podbean. This episode will be on Podbean as well. Got my account fixed. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy it. All right, guys, joining me now is a guy that reached out to me about 2 years ago on Instagram, and he recognized me from editing the TV show Classic Patterns. And I felt really flattered when he did that. But then I found out this dude is legit the real bait man. He has got baits growing everywhere. And if you watch Smallmouth Crush with Travis Manson, I love Travis's channel. Great information. You'll know him as Epic Eric. So, Eric, welcome to Baitman Raw, man.
Man, Baxter, thank you so much for having me on, man. I did love your work, man, back then. I was like heartbroken when it went off, man. I like waited every week for that to come on, dude. Just some of the best content. You got to bring it back. But I love what you're doing on Baitman Raw and Baitman TV. It's dynamite, dude. I was just looking at your comparing springtime favorites with new baits. You're delivering. You're delivering the goods, man.
Yeah, man. YouTube's a different animal. It's hard to I don't want to say get the ball rolling, but keeping momentum up is
True.
hard. And I'm a guy who works a full time job, but
Yep.
I'd love to get back into making videos full time. It's interesting. You said about classic patterns. You don't know how many times since that show's gone off there in Lost Lake, which was very similar.
Oh,
I
that was
get
one of my favorites too, dude.
Yeah, people are like, dude, when they coming back? And
Exactly.
the real answer is TV to me is kind of dead.
It
Uh,
is.
yeah, I mean, you got the classic coverage is still. You remember it used to be live, like it
Yep.
was a big deal. And now it's delayed a week or two, maybe even a month.
Yep.
Everybody's went to the streaming stuff, and I get that, but there's those old school guys that don't use YouTube, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of them out there that want to watch great content on TV. But I'll
100%, man. Putting the pro on a lake that he's never seen, how he's going to figure it out. What does he choose? The decisions he makes. I don't care if it's live or a year old. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what it's all about is learning it, man. Just the presentation, the editing. You did great. Great
Yeah,
work, man.
I'll give a lot of credit that to Mike Otten. He was really a pioneer. Him and Joe Thomas, they were kind of
Yeah,
the
true.
pioneers of getting all
True.
that stuff out there.
True.
And I've had some talks with Mike, and I think he's going to come on a podcast with me. Maybe do a special live stream. But he's kind of as far as the fishing industry and all the baits and stuff. He comes
Yeah.
over to my house and he's like, "What is this stuff? Like this looks."
You don't know about that movement 80X from Sixth Sense, no?
No, he's like, he
He's
don't
old
even know
school.
who Six Sense is. He's looking in my bait room. He's like, "I've never even heard of
What?
this company." I'm like, "Dude,
Oh no.
you're legit."
They
Uh,
are, no doubt.
but it was I always thought cool, and this is where we're going to talk a lot about baits. Is I'd go over to Mike's house,
Yeah.
and that dude had so many square bill crankbaits and old school ones,
Yeah.
wood ones. And at the time, I really didn't care about all that. I'm like, Mike, I just want those prototype 1.5 square bills from Lucky Craft. I don't care about these Bagleys.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of the Tim Hughes, Jeff Thompson stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and long story short, when he got out of the television business with Pradco or whatnot, he moved back to Indiana. Life happens. I don't know the whole story, but
Sure.
he said I sold all my stuff. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
dude,
gosh. Wow.
Mike, you could probably put your son through college with all that stuff you had. I mean,
It's crazy, man. Look at what happened to the Zoom baits, the WECs when Ed Chambers passed away, man. I
yeah,
mean, you got the storied builders like Mikey Stepp, man. Uh, he was fashioned his baits after the Big O, man. Trained with Fred Young apparently for a little bit. I had the
yeah,
pleasure of talking to him years ago, and got a nice collection of Mikey Steps, man. And it's cool to hold up a Big O and look at his Big EE, and then look some of his the different baits that he made over the years. And I took a dive into the wood baits, man. I just love the artistry and trying to find that magic action that's a little bit
right.
different that a plastic bait can't deliver. But I mean, arguably, right, one of the best squirrel barrels ever made was that RC 1.5.
Yeah, and that's
Ever.
it's a crazy story, and I hope I don't step on too many toes here. I've said it before on YouTube, uh, but how that all went down, like I literally saw Mike drawing out prototypes, and Lucky Craft was sending like blank ones that were clear and
That's
all that.
extraordinary.
And then when that came out and it had Rick Klun's name on it, it was
Oh,
it was not a fun time to be in the Classic Pattern studio.
oh man, that's brutal. I mean, apparently it was designed to take the place of a wooden square bill, right? To add that
Yep.
durability, that high float plastic that they used. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I think some of those OG, RC 1.5s, we should call it the Mike Alton 1.5. I
Yeah,
mean, let's not
that's
be
what I'm
shy about
saying.
it. That dude designed it,
Yeah.
and he nailed it. I mean, he nailed it. I don't know that there's, a lot of people love that Strike King 1.5, but I think that original LC Mike Alton design one is still the best ever. And the
Yeah.
plastic bait, personally.
Yeah, and a lot of guys are now hunting for the Big Daddy strikes, the twos and the threes.
The
And that bait,
BDS twos and threes, man, that's like a little, nobody throws the bigger square bill, man. I got some crazy stories where a guy on the front's got a original RC 1.5, and I'm throwing the BDS 2.3 and the 4,
Yeah, the
and
four is a big one.
way getting bigger bites. I didn't get as many bites, but I'm putting the meat in the boat, and I'm getting second chance at the better cast, right? It's just a bigger profile bait.
Right.
Pre-spawn females on my river, the Potomac, they're eating white perch, getting ready for spawn. You get them on those breaks, and you can get some very big bites on that.
That was the BDS 3 was the one I threw all the time. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I got bigger bites, but I like to crank a lot of stumps in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, when that thing would hit a stump, it would
Mm.
float real quick and
Mm-hmm.
dart. And I liked them because they had a lot of matte finishes. Uh,
Yes.
and most all your companies now doing hard bait square bills, there's not a lot of matte finishes out there.
No, no, it's kind of like those old baits that guys would hang in their windshield. It'd get that faded kind of look, let that sun fade that bait out. Those fade. Somebody should come up with like a faded color series, man. That's when
Yeah,
the bait gets right. When it gets chewed up, some of that paint's coming off, man. That bone showing through. If it's a bone bait, it just gets chewed even better. It's crazy. I mean, we know finishes are really for us, not the fish per se, but I agree with you on the matte colors. I'll take a little. I stole one of my wife's little nail polish dealios, man. And I'll knock it down. You can do it with some really fine steel wool too, and just take the shine right off a bait. But it's still not like a matte faded color.
yeah. It's just kind of like taking the clear coat off.
Yeah, right. Takes
Um,
that shine off the bait.
that was that RC 1.5 from my perspective. It really people don't understand how much that bait set off the square bill market because there wasn't a lot of guys throwing square bills that weren't into that old school wood
Yeah.
bait game,
Yeah.
and that came out, and then like a year or two later, KVD wins the classic on a 1.5 or 2.5, and now
Mhm.
every company, if you make a hard bait, you're making a square bill crankbait.
Sure.
It,
Sure.
and hats off to Lucky Craft. I don't think they get enough respect for what they really did. There for a while, they were like the most affordable JDM company in the United States. I mean,
Yes.
Megabass was still around, but the Sammy 100 that changed the top
Oh
water
my
game.
gosh, crazy. How about the pointer? The
Mm-hmm.
pointer series too, man. I mean, Sammys and pointers, man. I can't tell you how many fish I caught off of both those baits. Post spawn throwing a Sammy on the Potomac or a river up here, man. Oh, just smashing it.
Yeah,
The ghost minnow color. Oh my gosh, and the finishes in their baits were ridiculous. I mean, they appealed to fishermen, but they caught the fish too.
right. And one thing I loved about the Sammy is I could hand my rod to my dad, who's obviously he's 20 years older than me, and he could work it just as good as I could. They just worked so easily on top of water. But Lucky Craft really forced a lot of companies to change their game,
Right on.
change the quality of their products.
Yep.
Even the terminal tackle that come on their baits were great. The colors and honestly, we're seeing that now where so many companies have really stepped up that
Yep.
it's hard to just say this bait's light years ahead of that one.
Hmm.
But you
I
still got
agree.
companies like Rapala. Uh,
Oh,
let's talk about wood baits because that's
good
what
night,
you're good
man.
at.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Rapala, I mean, I saw them on sale on Tackle Warehouse. You can get a DT for $5 and change. How do they do that? I mean, Fritz designing the DT6, and how many fish have you caught on the DT6 over the years? It's just
Man,
stupidly effective.
yeah. And it's not like a crazy bait where there's small intricacies. It's just
Mm-mm.
a standard style bait
Yep,
and it catches fish. It's a balsa
does.
bait. And in spring, dude, you will not find me with more than two or three in my box. I've always got some in my box, but I'm a big fan of the DT flat, and that was discontinued.
I was crying, man. I mean, the flat sided from Rapala, those were sleepers. Not a lot of people throw them, but I'm glad to hear that you had them in your box, man.
Dude, I can show you right here. I've got it right. Since you're on the camera, all that whole top roll, that's sevens and threes. And I'm a big bomber flat A guy, too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I pulled one out just because I had to. I mean, arguably one of the best flat baits ever made, man. That bomber flat A, dude. I mean, you know, can you beat it? This is one I doctored up myself, man. I had to paint it in my little spring crawl
Oh
color with
man,
my freaking nail polish, dude. That's nail polish freehand right there. But
you
that
almost
Joker,
making me rethinking doing Baitman Raw. We should almost done a live stream so people can see that.
oh man, we got to come back. We'll do another one. We'll
Yeah,
do
man.
another one. This will just be
Cause
the teaser to the show because
right,
my desk is full of it right here, dude. Full of it.
yeah, and I have good internet. No offense, Travis.
Hey man, those first couple were on me, man. I had to step it up. I had to step up my internet game. I thought I
Dude.
could get away with it, but no, dude. I went straight up to the top
So,
and paying less money. How about this one that my buddy Josh Powell? You're gonna like that one too, man. Look at that little
oh
flashy.
yeah, almost a full on it.
Yeah, man, it is. It's not. He didn't use foil, man, but it is. It is dirty right there. Because for my rivers, you gotta love a gold crankbait, man. Gold black back, orange belly.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I'm a TVA guy here on Kentucky Lake, and you're
Right.
over in Maryland, Tidal
Yep.
Reservoir.
Yeah.
How much, I'm a crankbait guy, but how much differences is there really on that East Coast fishing that tidal stuff than what I do in the spring? Are you
You
still
know,
look for the same stuff?
oh heck yeah, man. I mean, pre-spawn fish are going to move up, right? And that, for us, it's 8 to 10 early, and then 6 to 8, and then they just keep moving shallow. They're on those, channel swing banks, the bigger pre-spawn females, and those points leading into the spawning pockets. And I know you throw this color. It doesn't matter what brand you buy, but you better have spring crawl, bro.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
there, right? That's a CP bait. That's a wood bait. That's a flat bait. That's on my little search bait. He also makes a CP3, which is a little bit deeper, and a CP1. But he worked with Sonny McFarlane from Flat
Right.
Shad. And now Sonny apparently is still alive. I thought he wasn't alive, but he just stopped making baits, man. And I know that Sonny McFarlane Flat Shad was a bad
Uh-huh.
mamma jamma right there. A little bit thicker than that CP bait. But what I think Craig Powers learned from Sonny was correct bill angle, and he's got it right. These baits aren't super durable. I don't mind saying so. I've had, I don't smack my baits on the water. Some of the balsa was super soft, but some bait makers will dip it. Some guys will throw some super glue on it just to harden it. But Sonny McFarlane did something to his baits after he cut the balsa just to make them super tough and super durable.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my man CP just put a couple of those in the mail for me
Did he really?
last night. Yeah, he had a bunch he'd made for a show at Watches Marie, had some extra, and
Yeah.
he's gotten into this big swim bait game. So we had to talk. He said, "Man, I'm gonna send you a
Really?
couple crankbaits."
Dude, I have caught, on camera with Travis. I brought out the flat baits, of course, and I'm throwing the CP bait on a spinning rod. I go down all the way to 8 pound test sometimes, and man, I have wrecked them. Just throwing in the fall when they get tuned into the shad migrations happening on our rivers, and the shad start pouring in, or the bay anchovy. That black back foil sided crankbait just gets it done for me. And then there's several flat sides I throw. I don't just stick with the CP bait. I love Rob Cochran from Jawjacker.
yeah, dude,
No,
Rob makes some awesome stuff.
dude, he's unbelievable, and he makes a flat side. He's got a color called Sneaky. Oh, it's crazy. My buddy's throwing a Rapala Shad Rat, and he's catching the 1 to 3 pounders. I'm throwing that Sneaky bait from him, and it's a flat side, gets about 6 to 7 foot deep, and I'm catching the bigs, man. It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Same boat, same bank, same swing bank. It's loaded with bait, but they're just wanting that bigger bait.
I'm gonna tell you one that it's my unicorn. I bought
Yeah.
this at the Classic in North Carolina when Talk won,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought it from a guy named Kelly Stooksbury.
Oh.
And so if the guys listening know who Stooksbury is, he owned Mimic Lures.
Oh, buddy, hold on. I got a whole mimic box, brother.
You might have, maybe you have a unicorn for me.
I got my whole mimic cranks. I got a lot of round. Go ahead, man. Show me. I want to see what it is.
You see that? It's almost like a tequila sunrise. It's got the micarta bill. It's really light. I have to throw it on spinning gear. I did change that hook out, but I caught a couple pigs on this, and I got scared that I was going to lose it.
You retired it, man?
It only comes out when that bite's really good, and I look for big bites.
Hold on. I think I got it, man. I don't know that I got the deep diver, but I know I got it in the shallower. Is this the color?
Let me see.
Hold on. Sorry, man.
That's really close. If it's not it, it's a purple back. It's almost like a cross between a sexy shad with a purple back. That's really
Yeah, so
close.
this got a purple back. It's got the sexy shad yellow line and a whisper orange on the throat, but it's the shallow runner, man.
Yeah, this one's actually solid white. It has just a little hint. I mean, hint of
Yeah, it's
pink.
got a whisper.
I could probably just turn this daggum light on beside me, and you could
There
see
you
it.
go. Yeah, yeah. And then that's his sexy shad in the deeper version that you got, right? That's the
Yeah,
same bait right there.
yeah. This one has a David Walker signature on the bottom.
Oh,
Evidently,
really?
I've tried doing some research, and people are like, "Dude, that's a really rare one."
Hmm. He
But
maybe only made a few.
yeah,
David
so
Walker signature series on Mimic. I didn't know they made that. You
yeah,
got me
so
on that one, brother.
to be honest with you, we're at the classic. Me and my dad, and we're just walking around.
Right.
My dad's looking at all this, and I come over there, and Kelly starts talking to me. He's a super nice guy, and he said, "Why don't you pick one out? I'll let you have one." I said, I like that one right there." He said, "Yeah, that'd be a great Kentucky Lake color." I probably didn't fish it for like 2 years, and one day I pulled it out. It was like high 50 degrees, waters mid 40s, and just I was cranking some pea gravel bank, and I pulled that guy out, and man, it's like a 6
Oh.
and a 5.5 back to back. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Oh. Time to put it up.
yeah, time to put it up. I'm notorious for that when I'm out playing around with baits and stuff. After I catch a couple good ones on it, I just retire them because I'm like, all right, I only bought one of these. I don't need to lose it.
No, can you imagine if
Especially
you
in the
could?
wood baits because you never know when you can get another one.
No, true. It's kind of like, you know, Gary D's and the D bait. I mean, I know you've heard about the D bait, man.
Oh
That
yeah,
is a Carolina killer right there, dude. And then, Wes England's got his version, right? That's the wee bait.
yep. So
Uh,
that's one Craig Powers told me. He said not too long ago. He said Baxter, when it's bright bluebird out there, get you a full wee baits, and you will put 5 in the boat.
it's crazy how effective they are, man. Olive back or black back if your water's a little dirtier. But that olive back shad, man, with that silver full side, I wish he'd start making baits again, but he won't.
Yeah, that's
Wes has got to be getting up there in years too, man.
the
So
big guy near me was I actually went to church with Jeff Thompson when I was younger, and he does guitar lessons right up the street from me.
right.
Uh, he made a great square bill, kind of like the old boss, the Bagleys,
Mm-hmm.
with the wire through. And then the other big guy was Wally G, the
Oh,
Wally
dude.
G bait.
Do you have any?
I actually don't have any.
That's my Wally G box right there, bro.
Yeah, you got any root and rons in there?
All right. I gotta look, man.
The
It's
root and
been a
ron
while.
was big here. That was a big time riprat crankbait. Now, I think Wally's doing what he
Was
calls
it like
sea
a square
flash.
bill? Yeah. He did the sea flash, didn't he? Where it
Yeah,
had a little bit of chartreuse color running through the bait.
yeah.
Is that rootin'? Is that a square bill?
It's kind of like it's a real small. It's got a steep angle. Um, root and ron was always our riprat bank.
Like a deeper diving bait?
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta get out the other Wally G box, man. Give me a second. Because that was my square bill box.
Hey, did anybody ever tell you have a problem?
Here's the other Wally G box, man. Right there. It's
Oh
crazy,
yeah.
dude. Let me see. Did it have a lead in the lip?
Yes.
That it?
That's old root and ron right
There
there.
it is, brother. What color you like?
Man, I'll be honest. When it comes to flat sides, I'm a red, a shat. There you go, a root beer.
Root beer, dude, right there, dude. That's the one.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that color a little bit. I pulled out some rattle traps in root beer, and people on my live
People are
stream
like flipping out, going, "What is that?
What's
Who's
that?
ever seen it? Who's
it's
ever
ugly.
found a root beer rattle trap? Nobody,
Right.
except you."
Yeah, and the Kentucky Lake crew. But that color got real popular because Bandit used to make a 200 in root beer, and then they made root beer chartreuse. And then, long story short, the guy I'm working for, legendary tackle shop here at Kentucky Lake Fisherman's headquarters, his name was Jeff Evans. He went to Rattle Traps, said, "I want rattle traps in that color," and ordered like 500.
Good
and
night.
They sent him like a dozen to play with, and we slaughtered them, and people started buying them, and it's stayed in the rattle trap catalog for a while, but it's kind of a special run deal.
Yeah.
Now. But I don't know what it is about that color because it really doesn't look like anything. I guess maybe it has a shad
look in the water, but they eat it.
I'd say, man. I mean, root beer in the fall up on the Upper Bay, man, or Potomac, man. That root beer crankbait just gets it done. I honestly, I don't know. Could it be a shad? Could it be a craw? Could it be a bluegill? I mean, probably all of them, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it good. You can just tie it on, and
Nondescript.
what Mark Menendez told me about that color, it was always killer on Barkley, and he said, well, that's because the white in that off color water has a better flash than typical silver or gold size. That white really shows up good in that dirty water.
Yeah, I got a lot of stain too, man. So let's talk about some Jerry Lore's lures, man.
Oh yeah,
he's got a sneaky little bait out there, and the dean of bass fishing, Pete Gluzik, and I, we hit it off at a bass show. He's in a booth with Captain Steve Chaconis, who's a guide on the river. Steve, I've known him for 30 years. He sells his boat every year, and he's boatless in the fall. And so I pick him up and we go fishing together. So it's always a Potomac deal. So he's in this booth with Pete, and we start talking crankbaits. And it's clear that he loves Bagleys, the old Killer B2, the DK Killer B2, man. It's that's a spinner bait or a chatterbait with treble hooks, right? Because it's just such a hard thumper. So he pulls out this little Speedy from Jerry, right? And I'm going, man, let's talk about that bait. And the little Speedy is this, it's a flat-sided, sneaky bait. When those fish get on the wood, man, they flat out eat this bait. And he was kind of wrecked that he couldn't find them anymore. So he knows a bait maker up in PA called Bob Allen. And he deconstructs, he gives Bob the bait to deconstruct and make a little Speedy replica. And here it is, man. I'm telling you, that bait right there, I made the lips for these baits because those guys didn't have access to a Lexington place to cut the lips. So I took an old little Speedy lip. Pete gave it to me. My buddy worked at a shop that could laser cut Lexington, made about 250 lips. And Pete made this bait with Bob called the Silent Killer. And that little joker, you worm that thing through freaking wood. When they get on the wood, they're ready to spawn. That thing will do it 360. If you stop it and throw a little twitch in your rod, that bait will turn around. I don't know what it is about that bait, but it just gets flat out eaten, man. It's crazy. It's a shallower diving, round lip flat side that just does a job that no other bait seems to be able to do, man.
You're really awesome. Deep in this wood bait game,
dude. And
like you're throwing names out, kind of like.
and I didn't know Ed Chambers, before he passed away, made a replica of the little Speedy. Dude, I only got 2, and I will not throw them. I mean, I want to, but I throw that thing in there with 10-pound test. I would die. I got that color, which is like an olive back, a little bit of silver and some gold shoulders, and I got a black and silver, which on my fishery is just dynamite, man. There's another bait that is sneaky, and it's small, and you got to throw it on a spinner rod. And I mean, my buddy won the co-angler side with Mark Menendez in the boat on the Potomac. He won himself a Ranger boat throwing this bait. I'm sure a lot of your viewers, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the Biddy B.
Biddy B. I've heard of it, but I've never seen one.
And you wouldn't think you'd be catching good fish on that thing, man. But when those fish get pressure during the grass, or they're on the shallow wood after post-spawn, or they're pre-spawn, them fools will eat it. I don't know what it is. That thing is a super tight vibrating, and it just comes through the cover, man. That is a bad mamma jamma. My favorite color is silver and black. That's just a gold black for some of the tidal waters that I fish. But I like that silver black back, orange belly. It's dirty. Dirty, man.
A man can go really broke after they listen to this podcast.
Dude, I've been collecting since the 70s. I was a paper boy when I got my lifetime subscription to Bassmaster magazine. I tournament fished, I bass fished on ponds starting as when I grew up around my neighborhood, deliver my newspapers and have my fishing rod in my tackle box, kind of like, strapped in with some bungee cords and little radio strapped to my handlebars. And as soon as I'd be done my paper route, I'd go to my front lake in my community and I'd start throwing stuff, man. I threw them Bagley shiners and.
So you were like a Guggen before the Guggen squad, right?
Dude, man, no, don't even tell me about them Guggens. I don't even have packing them things in my house. I refuse to throw a Guggen bait copy everything in the industry. I can't take it. Don't get me started.
I respect you for that. And one thing, me and you, we're older, so we've really seen all the changes, and that's why I guess I'm so into the wood bait stuff right now. Mm-hmm. I'm just very interested and. I buy a little here. What I can afford?
Sure.
But I think it's a lost art a little bit. There's some great guys doing awesome work right now. You know, we mentioned Rob at Jawjacker.
I'm glad he's still in the business, man. I
Yeah,
love, his Mama J, dude. If
yeah,
you haven't gotten a Mama J from Rob, that is the hardest thumping. It's like a DK Killer B2, hard thumping, but with a coffin bill. So man, that Joker pulls hard,
yeah.
hard.
It's almost like feels like a chatterbait on the end of your rod.
That's exactly right. And, I know you like that bread, so I had to show
Oh,
you.
I like that red.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
I
Get
bought
yourself.
some of Rob's stuff at the East Tennessee Fishing Show last year. I got some of his J1s, which are like the Zoom E1. I like that style bait quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good on Lake Barkley. And then I bought a couple Mama J's and
Oh yeah,
just some random stuff. I didn't have the fun some of the guys had. I mean, there was guys like going up to me. He's like, "Oh, that's 600, that's 500," just pulling out, and I'm like, "Holy cow, this dude has a huge following." And
he does, man, because he charges a reasonable price for a great bait, and his finishes are awesome. I know he's correctly preparing the balsa. He's trying to buy the best select balsa. His baits are consistent, man. And you just never know when's he going to stop making the baits. It's a grind. Think about the number of steps a guy goes through to make a bait. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Another one I've been seeing a lot. And when we'll get into pricing, this might be a little taboo here, but
yeah,
the Coulter crankbaits.
Oh my gosh, dude, the baby pig remakes that he's making.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's an OG baby pig, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm scared to throw it because somebody told me that these things are going for stupid amounts of money. I'm like, all right, but I mean, Zoom fashioned the mutt after the baby pig, and thankfully I've got a bunch. And then he's got the hickey, which is a little bit bigger than the mutt, right?
So the Rapala DT3, from what I was told, was Fritz's answer to the hickey.
Ah, nice. Nice. Well, Fritz, I mean, when Fritz puts his mind to something, that guy can make a great crankbait. I saw him at the Richmond show, and that was kind of cool talking about his flat side because I had a chance to throw it. First cast with a Fritz side, I caught me. It was a good keeper. Like, started our tournament off right. About a 2.5 pounder I put in the well. So, it was kind of cool throwing that bait. I mean, that thing pulls. It was the deeper diving one, not the shallow crankbait that John Cox threw recently. But yeah, man. I mean, he did the work, right?
Yeah. So I've seen these Coulter crankbaits, and they're beautiful.
But yeah,
dude, $200?
No way.
I'm out of that game.
Nope, not me. There's a guy, man. I'm only going to share it with you, but I can't say it. I'll show you, but I won't tell. I can't tell the viewers.
Yeah, you have to send it to me on Instagram,
dude. They're affordable. I'll DM you. I mean, you're recording this, right? We're not live. So are they going to see the pictures?
No,
they're all right. I'm gonna show you
audio.
Right
only audio for Baitman Raw.
People hate on me sometimes because I don't give up everything. But look, I'll share it with you, and I'll tell you where you can get it. But that's a baby pig copy, and it's almost an exact replica, and it ain't $200. It's affordable, and so I'll hold up this baby pig for you, and then I'll hold this one. So I'll do the little demo for you, so you can see the mechanics of the bait. So it's
oh yeah,
like perfect length, perfect width. I mean, they're two different color crankbaits. The baby pig got a little bit deeper belly, but this thing pulls the same as the baby pig, and it gets eaten.
That's the main thing.
Eaten.
I'll tell you right now, one of the best crankbaits, if you don't want to spend a lot of money in the wood game, but you want a crankbait that performs really well, and it's very based off a lot of these designs, is the Spro Little John.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at the body shape on that, it's similar to a baby pig or
100%.
a mutt.
100%. And it catches them. I mean, Mr. Cruz got it right. And it's got that. Here's the deal with that bait. I pay attention to how high the bait's floating. That bait's got a soft tungsten weight in it, right? Rattle. And so it does have a little deeper sound. Does that make a difference to the fish? They seem to respond and eat the bait. It is not a high float bait. So if you're cover cranking with it, you got to really pay attention or you're going to be snagged all day long. But I think that's part of the magic to the bait in the early spring. You're rolling through the cover and, you're hitting that object and you're stopping or you're letting up your retrieve a little bit. It's not backing out super fast. It's staying in the strike zone.
Yes.
And then you go to engage
in that time to react.
100%. I got into with some of Craig's baits. I'll take that, CP3. It's not, this is a CP2, but I'll weight it with a suspend strip right on the throat. And that thing, I caught one of my biggest upper bay fish in a tournament, a 6'8", stood up as the big fish of the year on a CP bait. And I had that thing throat weighted, and I was rolling down a bank that was, it's a community hole. It's a riprap bank. The pre-spawn females get there, and, it gets fished a lot. And having that bait remain in the strike zone was something that made the difference. You don't hear a lot of people. You hear people weighting jerk baits, but you don't hear people taking the time to weight a crankbait, or a shad wrap to make that thing either suspend, slowly rise, or even slowly sink.
Right. Most of the crankbait waiting here on my lakes was trying to figure out how to get a DD 22 to 22 foot. Guys putting lead core sinkers on them and everything, but there are guys that definitely put the suspend strips and lead tape and whatever, drilling shad wraps early in the spring. A lot of it was to get them to cast better, and what they didn't realize is what they're doing is making the bait suspend or that low sink too.
Right. I just throw a little lead strip on the back lead wire that I use for fly tying on the back hook, and it tail weights that, it'll still tumble a little bit, but man, it seems to make it cast better, and it does suspend the bait a little bit too. Sure. No question about it.
I'll tell you a bait, and I might take some flack for this. I think these are some of the best looking crankbaits out there.
Yeah.
And I bought several, was the Catching Concepts.
Oh yeah.
They look really good. I just can't get a bite on them.
It's funny you say that, and I might take some flack too. So, I like the concept, Poe's superseder, right?
Yeah.
So you think about, balsa wood, jute long, right? Basswood. And then you think about cedar, denser, harder. So the bait seemed to have a harder thump. I threw them, but I didn't get any bites, and I didn't give it a fair shake, to be honest with you. So I put them away, because I had other wood baits that, I'd go out and I knew I could catch fish on. So as a new entrant to my wood game, I didn't give it a fair shake. So I got a bunch still in the package, man, just sitting in the shop. I'll probably end up putting them on eBay because they're going for good money. Somebody's catching them, because Carolina Crankbait Co. puts them jokers up, and them fools roll out, seems like.
I've never seen anything like it. The only thing I can compare that to is when the burrito bait swim bait dude drops baits. They're gone in like 30 seconds. The same with these Catching Concepts.
What is it with the burrito baits, man?
Dude, they're legit. So
all right.
Guys are catching a lot of fish on them.
Yeah, I want to show you one. I did something to it. You're gonna laugh at me, man, but I'm a bait tinkerer, man. I can't leave well enough alone. So I bought me a burrito bait. I didn't like the color. So I got this magic fairy dust that I put I brush it on my crankbaits, and then I clear over it with Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails, and it gives it a shimmer. So I wanted to get a blueback herring. So that bait did not look like that when I bought it, man. But I got a little bit of that blueback on there. I got a little purple right there on the belly. I don't know if you can see that, but man, that thing looks tasty.
You need to take a photo of that and put it on Instagram. You'll get a lot of likes.
You know what? I probably should.
I don't know if you're a guy that does it for the likes, like the young generation, but
nah, I just put it up there because I like sharing, all my madness, man.
That's really what I kind of started doing, and how I got into all this. I would just put random stuff up on Facebook, and I really started off with just the Facebook page. Fletcher Shyrock said, "Oh, you're the Baitman," and he said, "You should create a page and put stuff up there," and I did. And
that stuck. That's how you got your nickname.
Yeah. Then I got to streaming in my living room, and then so I was like, you need to put them on YouTube. And then I went to the store. Now I've got the bait room, and here we are. But
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just I get excited. My wife gets excited when she goes into whatever she shops in, Victoria's Secret or antique shop. I'm cool with that. I get excited when I walk into a tackle shop that's kind of off the beaten path, and I look around the corner and I see like all the bombers and old packages and stuff.
Oh my gosh,
I go, well, if they've got that, what else do they have in here?
Yep. Like some of those old Rapalas that were made, in Finland or Ireland, man. Better balsa maybe. Who knows, man? But there's some magic about it. I agree with you, man. Those old bombers, the old screw tails, man. Yep. Let's talk about the old 70s. That plastic, straight up, man, it was denser. And it was better than the cheap Chinese plastic. It's kind of like when Man sent their -1 over to China to get manufactured. That they wrecked the bait. They probably sent a bait over and they made a mold out of a bait, which made it bigger. The lip wasn't right. I was talking to Steve Chaconis, who's probably caught thousands of bass on the Potomac on a -1 over the years. He's like, dude, I can't get my -1s to swim right. I'm like, yeah, you didn't know they sent that stuff over to China? So you got to buy the old ones, the old school ones, and the plastic was just better. I feel like those baits catch them better sometimes, man. And maybe it's in my head. I don't know. Kind of like the wiggle wart, the OG wiggle warts. The new ones will catch them, but there was something about that older bait that seemed to hunt more and just, I don't know, get bit more. And if it's in my head.
Yeah, don't get me started on the old wiggle warts. I'm a firm believer that the rock crawler is a far superior bait.
But you know what? You're right. Hey, man. I mean, straight up, right? I mean, Storm got it right. Hey, finally somebody did. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Cheaper too. You don't have to spend $500 on a collection of warts.
And when I say that, I don't mean that wiggle wart's a bad bait and don't go buy them and you're overpaying, because obviously you go to bull shows or Table Rock or the Ozarks this time of year, and when the conditions are right, those guys that know what they're doing with that OG wart and know how to fish it will whip your tail on it. But for guys like me, this has never been a really big wiggle wart area. I know guys that say, well, I've caught them on it. I feel for my money. I think the rock crawler's as good, if not better. And the thing is, they're easy to get. If I break a spring rock crawler off, no big deal. Every tackle shop around's got one.
Right. You got one right in the bag, man.
You break a V46, whatever color that is. I know it's a crawl color. You break that one off. Yeah, that's $100 bill.
You're crying, man. You're definitely crying. So have you heard of Marty Burns?
Yes.
So does he make a fine bait or what, man? This is his little square bill, man. I just got those on eBay, and I was lucky to get them for the price that I got them. I don't know how people didn't find them. Maybe they're not looking, but man, he makes a nice bait.
How much of your buying do you do on eBay?
Quite a bit, but I only buy when I see a good price, man. Like I think I got into the wood baits before wood baits got a lot of attention. And now it's just crazy because I think like with shops like Carolina, Fish and Tackle, they're just doing these drops, and the insanity on the pricing is just is crazy. So I'm doing a whole lot less now than I used to.
Yeah, someone asked me, how'd you get so many DT flats? They're hard to get. I was like, man, I was actually fishing them for years, and so I had a pretty good stock. Like, the colors you got are hard to get. I'm like, those were the good colors. They quit making them because they really didn't sell.
Yeah, they didn't. I wonder why. Why didn't the flat series catch on? Because the DT had such popularity.
I think that's part of it. And I'll be honest, there's an art form to fishing flat side crankbaits.
Let's dive into that, man.
So me personally, I'm going lighter line. I'm going even softer rod.
Me too.
And I'll fish a flat side different. A lot of guys in the spring they crank and they're 45 degrees to the bank. I like to get parallel. Back when I had a boat and fish out there, I'd get parallel, and I'd either fish the first 3 foot off the bank with something small like a DT 3 or any of those style baits, or I'd get off in that 6 to 8 foot of water and throw something like the Mimic, with a little bit deeper diver bill, it's different. A lot of times those bites on the flat side, they're not. You'll be fishing it. It's like they're pushing the bait. They're not just coming up and hammering it.
Right.
A lot of the bites on the flat side are different. It just feels like your bait moved the wrong direction, or it just kind of loads up.
Yeah, you lose contact, and you got to have a really soft rod to contend with it. I throw a lot of my flat sides like that CP bait on a spinning rod on 8-pound test, and people are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "It handles a 6-pound fish fine, or a 4 or 5. You just got to take your time with it. I'm not throwing it in like trees and laydowns. I'm throwing it on riprap. I mean, unless there's a stump there, and on my riprap there are no stumps in my river systems, generally. It's just rock, and there might be a piece of wood there, but once that thing deflects off the wood, that joker's coming up, loading up, and I'm just leaning into the fish. It's no hard hook set. It's not a slam bite. it just stops moving. It stops vibrating. Like you said, you know, you just feel that fish loads up.
It reminds me a little bit of fishing a deep spinnerbait. Now, sometimes these bass here will just blast it, but there's a lot of times you're fishing a deep spinnerbait, you're just feeling the blade, and all of a sudden the blade's not moving anymore, and your rod just gets a little heavy. And that's kind of how a flat side bite to me is. A lot of times, I mean, you're going to get some fish that just grab it and you know it, but the majority of fish, especially this time of year, they're coming up, and I feel it. They push the bait out of the way to get it in their mouth, and it's just not a. You got to have the right setup. You got to have a good reel that casts too. I'm a bait casting guy, but you know, I'll throw them on 8-pound fluoro, but I've got like a 7-foot medium light dowel rod that I can move them pretty good. I'm probably not as good throwing on spinning gear, but I love flat-sided crankbaits, and no one really makes a deep one other than Spro. Everybody's got all kinds of deep crankbaits. Spro's the only guy that makes a deep flat side. You know, I don't know why no one's really dove into that, because that Spro catches them.
Yeah, but that CP3
you ever seen a big Giants flat side that Craig makes? That he makes like a square bill. That's
is that
like
called a Big E? The Big E.
It's like the size of an iPhone Plus.
I think it's the Big E. Isn't it the Big E?
Big Humble.
The Big Humble. That's it. The Big Humble. Yeah, I saw a couple on. I was curious because I love his bait so much. I haven't bought one, but have you thrown it?
I haven't thrown it, but I've been in the boat with someone that was, and they train wrecked them in the fall.
Come on, man.
I'll give you. I mean, he caught them right on Kentucky Lake, right south of the Ken Lake Bridge here. You know, just cranking stumps where a lot of guys were throwing top water and this and that. And he was catching some really big fish, and I think a lot of it's the profile of that bait. They don't
think about it. Think about it. Think about why that that BDS3 gets a bigger bite, right? Because it's a bigger bait, you know, and it's down there where them bigger fish live, right? It's not a little 1.5. It's a meal for those fish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
I'm a big bait guy, except the early spring. I like to finesse crank, and sometimes it's a numbers deal, finesse cranking like that with these flat sides and small balsa crankbaits. You're going to catch a lot of small fish. You're also going to catch fish that these guys that are throwing the 2.5 and the bigger size crankbaits aren't going to catch. I mean, these big fish, they'll eat the small baits. I bought a crankbait from a guy named Andrew Mullins. He has Balsa Concepts. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff. It's really good, but I liked his bait because it was bigger. It's a little bit bigger. Still got like that same profile that, you know, the Coulter cranks and pigs, mutts.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful bait. He did a really good job.
Oh, that's a nice looking bait, man.
It's a much bigger balsa, and I really like that. And
have you thrown it much out there?
I threw it in my pool, and it swims really good.
So I'd be curious to see, like in the fall, you know, when they're chasing the shad.
Yep.
You get a bigger flat side on, are you getting a bigger bite? Does the same thing hold true, you know, when you're down there grinding them bigger plastic baits? Why not? Why wouldn't it work? Yep. It has to. That's what I'm talking about. We should do it, man. Let's agree to talk in the fall. We'll put them bigger flat sides on and go to work.
So in the fall, I do throw flat sides in the fall, and I power fish with them more like a Bomber Flat A, the pearl green back, the Martin Davis color.
Oh yeah.
And then,
I love that signature
series. 6 cents makes that flat 75, and that's a bigger flat side crankbait.
Yeah,
I first threw it, I threw it in the fall, and it's different when I say, because it's got a little bit more roll than most flat sides. It's not a super tight wiggle, but it's different enough. Those fish really like that in the fall, and again, it's a bigger profile. A lot of the old school flat side crankbaits you see, wooden ones, are pretty much a traditional same size. There's not a lot of variation.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The D baits, the wee baits, you know, the baby pig, the mutts, they're little snack size baits. You get a lot of bites.
Another one that's real popular here is the laser lures.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got one.
Check this out, man. A guy sold me all the rest of his laser lure inventory for $5 a piece. Is that crazy? I'm like,
I need to know where
I'll take
I
every
need to know
one.
where you're meeting these people at because they're not
What's
around
up with
here.
that? Why did he do that? Why did he let that bait go? I mean, a smoke back, a foiled bait. Did I get like some factory rejects? I mean, like if I go to throw this bait and I can't tune it, I'll be pissed off because then it was $5 for nothing. But I'm like, yeah, with an EWG sharp hook, I'm taking every one of them. He only had like 4 left, but for $20, it was a no-brainer. Now I bought some baits from the guy before. So maybe he was just doing me a solid, but I'm like, thank you very much, man. Have you heard about Ira C? The Ira C?
I have heard of Irish Sea. I almost bought one day and I backed out. And then Barler's makes a really good crankbait.
Yes, he does make a good crankbait, man. But the Ira C, I haven't thrown it. It's my first Ira C, but I'm gonna go for it, man. I'll show you the E1. This is their smaller, this is the Ed Chambers E1, man.
For you guys listening, we're going to do a video on all this stuff.
Right? I mean, right?
Oh yeah,
it's a bigger bait for sure. So this is like your 1.5, if you will, and this is the Ira C, man. I mean, it's a clean bait. It's made nicely. I mean, this is like a Tennessee shad. It's got a little whisper chartreuse on the belly, but I can't wait to get this bait in the game, man, and see is it a good replacement. Hey, Tackle Craft out of Texas, man. He made me a nice little balsa bait.
He can paint too.
Oh, he can paint his ass off.
Yeah.
Is there a better painter out there? I mean, honestly, custom painter. I don't know.
I hate to say yes,
props, man,
and then I hate to say no because there's some really good dudes out there, and I don't want to disrespect any of them. Because I'll tell you this: if you ever meet a custom painter and say, "Hey, I've got this painted by this guy and it looks really good," what I've noticed they all shit on each other, and I'm like, I don't want to hurt no feelings because my local guy Mike Russell at Back 5 Baits, he does an amazing job.
Really? Okay.
And then Casey at 6 Cents started as custom painter, and then
honestly,
the guy that
you're right, Casey. I got turned on to 6 Cents way back in the day just because he painted a badass bait. I mean, before he was making baits, he was just painting baits, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I bought some of his baits because it was so sick.
But man, the Tackle Craft, Bill Barton, Phil Gerard, if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Mike Russell, Paul Cruz, all those guys.
Paul Cruz. Really good. Yeah.
I think though every guy's got his niche, what he's head and shoulders above somebody else with.
I would agree, man. I'm just looking up there because I'm looking at a few other custom baits that I gotta bring out. You mentioned it, man. The H&T balsa.
Yeah, right? Man. Did you ever have an original Boeing lures?
I did, man. I did.
It was basically the head and super spoot with a piano wire in it.
I got it.
That's it right there. That root beer one right there you got would absolutely slay them right now.
Right now.
That
little deep diver, it's kind of like a killer bee too, man. Wide, fat, wobbling bait, dude. Just a big old chunk. I'm going to eat that this spring on the river.
So let me ask you this. Why can't, I don't want to say can't, what happened to Bagley? Why has...
Dude, right?
I have heard they have almost been on the brink of going out of business. Their stuff just does not sell anymore.
It doesn't make any sense, man. I know they came out with that compression molded Sunny Bee. I didn't throw it. I was looking at it. I watched a video on how the baits were made. It's wire through construction. I still have some of the original Killer Bee 2s. I went on a tear. I went down in Texas and fished with a guy, Sean Hernke, who used to be a former pro.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, man, I loved him, man. It was a bass class. There was a channel that started up. I can't even remember what it was, but the whole deal was it was subscription. And you could watch extended videos. This was way before the Bass University, not the in-class Bass University, but it was an internet-based deal. And I'm all about learning. I don't know. I want to learn every time I talk to somebody. I've learned some stuff today from you. I've written some notes down and I love sharing. So I'm dedicated to learning as a fisherman. So I said, you know what? I'm going to reach out to this guy because he offered a bass class. Never been to Texas. I had a guy who was working for me in Texas. And that guy loved the bass fish too. I said, man, I'm hiring him for the day. We're gone. We're going. And I wanted him to teach me bed fishing on the lake. We go to a power plant lake and it is cold and it's raining its ass off, man. But we stroked them. Yeah. And we compared Killer Bee 2 collections, man. And I was just geeking out on, he had a ton more Killer Bee than I did, but he'd won some money on it. It was his favorite bait. And, then we did a bed fishing class, but, I was excited when Bagley's got back in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they discontinued, and then they started remaking, the proper size DK Killer B2 because the newer ones were bigger. They still caught fish, by the way.
Right.
But I just don't get why it didn't catch on. Was it because it's a wood bait? You got to take care of a wood bait different than you got to take care of a plastic bait. You can't smack the grass off, or the stuff you're getting on it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I love it when people get on the internet and like, these dadgum Rapalas are junk. The bills break all the time. I'm like, they don't really break that often if you're not smacking them on the grass. And part of the wood bait deal is if you're grinding and you're throwing where you should, you're going to break a few baits.
100%. There's no question about it, but it's worth it because I don't know. I mean, I don't want to start a fire on this podcast, but
oh yeah, let's go.
Does a wood bait in the right situation outperform a plastic bait? Can a plastic bait stand up?
I think
outside of the 1.5.
All right. I think in the spring, it depends on where you live and the conditions. But day in, day out, most of the guys that are really good spring crankbait fishermen, they're probably going to go on the wood side. I mean, look at Odd Defoe. He modified a DT3 and just about won MLF. He won a classic on it.
Isn't that crazy? That's right. That's that bait he was palming. Nobody knew what it was, right?
Yeah. And so supposedly they're re-releasing the flat based on how it's designed with the computer board lip. So what that does to the value of these things, I don't know, but I'm still going to fish them.
I mean, you got to figure. Okay, so that's a good question for you. As a crankbait fisherman, as a wood crankbait fisherman, you got the Lexan lip, which is clear, versus a computer chip lip, I mean, this is tougher. This will last a whole lot longer than grinding a bait with a Lexan lip. Lexan's prone to break, and this is really hard to break, almost near impossible. But, I'm not sure a bass is inspecting it. Given the choice of that re-release DT3, would you rather have Lexan or computer bill?
I'll be honest, I'll take the computer bill.
Why? More durable?
When it holds up better, and I think the way that my Carta comes off wood and deflects is just a little bit different. I don't think it's, believe it or not, and you can tell the bills aren't as stiff. Like even on this, this Mimic here, I can flex that bill pretty easily.
Yeah, you can't do it on a Lexan. You're right.
And when you're pulling it through water, I think it bends it just a little bit to give it a little different vibration.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to,
it's certainly thinner. I mean, holy crap, that thing's like a razor blade, like a chatterbait blade, right? The thinner chatterbait blades, the bigger chatterbait blades, like the thicker ones, thump harder for sure, in my book. Like if you get them.
It doesn't seem to have the tight shimmy.
It doesn't. But I've seen those thick bladed jigs outperform the thin bladed, Z-Mans. I mean, I'm a jackhammer fan, don't get me wrong, but I got onto a hunting bait out of Japan before anybody was talking about the jackhammer. Even before Brett Height released his jackhammer here in the States, I had it to myself, man. And that thing hunted, and it would smoke the original Z-Man chatterbait.
Yeah.
Too many times in a boat with partners, I'm throwing the JDM one, they're throwing the Z-Man OG, and I'm waxing their ass on it because that bait's just hunting on its own. And nothing I'm doing. It's just a bait. Sometimes the bait matters, right?
It does. A lot of it matters where you're at, but when you're in a productive area that and just like out fishing deep, we'll scan these big schools, and sometimes, dude, it matters. When fish are there and you're catching 5 to 1 over, dude, and maybe he's throwing a 6XD and you're throwing a Cloud 20 and you're catching him 5 to 1 and your colors are the same, it has to do with the bait. Maybe the retrieve a little bit, but
sure.
The only downside of these computer board lips is you'll notice the baits are a lot lighter too, because that lip doesn't weigh nothing, whereas the plastic lip's a little heavier.
I wasn't even thinking about that. The weight of the bait, no doubt about it. So let's talk about a deep diving wood bait versus a deep diving plastic bait. So do you think plastic owns below 10 feet, 10 to 20 plus?
10 to 20 plus, I think plastic owns the wood stuff, except I will tell you this, and I've told my viewers many times, I've won more money in tournaments on a Rapala DT16 than probably any other crankbait combined.
Oh, stop the presses. Are you? Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's good to hear. That's crazy.
Yeah, and
What do you think it is
striking,
about it? Why?
it's
All right, so let's
silent.
talk about the why.
It's silent, and when you hit brush or deep stumps, it it backs up, it deflects really well. Whereas
Sure.
the plastic stuff is really good at grinding over things and kicking
Mhm.
out to the side on the bottom.
Mhm.
But that DT 16 and the 20, I don't hang them up. Like we were burning them over the tops of brush piles and banging these logs we sunk. These
Mm.
fish would just grab them up, and you throw it. Now at this time the 6XD went out, the 5XD was, but we had plenty of deep crankbaits on Kentucky Lake. You just couldn't get bit on other things. But man, that DT16, it was something about it. It was silent,
Yeah.
not a lot of loud, not a lot of commotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that with respect to all the others. I've probably caught more fish on a 6XD than any other crankbaits. But as far as winning money, that DT16, I know one year me and the guy I fished with, it was like go to work all week, go to the dirt track on Friday night, discuss our game. We discuss our game plan for fishing the tournament, and then we go either win or get second. And it's like, oh, that was a quick, $2,000. And
That's incredible. So I've always wondered, right? So you got, a wood bait is solid.
mm-hmm.
A plastic bait has to have air in it to make it float and back up, right?
Yep.
So a fish is solid. It
Yep.
has a swim bladder, of course, right, for flotation,
Uh-huh.
but that fish is solid. So does a wood bait give a different sound, vibration in the water column versus a plastic bait?
It
You've got
has
a
to.
dense bait. It has to, in my mind, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sure, they weigh the same, but it's just a solid bait versus a freaking hollow bait. There's a solid rattle trap made by Yozuri, and it's the what the heck is it called, man? It's a live something, and it's solid plastic. It's like dense, but you can bend it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I haven't got into it yet. I mean, I bought some this year, and I'm like, I was thinking the same thing. Like, if somebody would make a wood rattle trap? Do you remember Suicide Shad?
Yeah, I remember
Oh
the
my
Suicide
God.
Shad.
I took that Suicide Shad and I was fishing it. I got a box of them. I was fishing it down with Sean Hernke at Conroe, man. And it was a one hook model.
Mm-hmm.
And I was throwing it in straight up, like it was this funky little buck brush. That bait would come through it.
Yeah.
And it was deflected. And I wrecked him on this bank. You couldn't get, I mean, a double hook treble bait was not coming through, but that Suicide Shad, for some reason, they responded to it and it came through. Isn't that crazy?
You remember the rattle trap that was half the bait was plastic and then it had the flapping tail on the back?
Was that a Berkeley?
Yeah, a Berkeley bait.
Berkeley bait. Yeah.
I forgot the name of it. I actually caught a bunch of fish on that one time.
Isn't that
long
weird?
time ago.
That's crazy.
It's weird though, because the fishing industry always cycles around, it seems.
Right.
So Jacob Wheeler just won on a spinnerbait out deep. When's the last time a major tournament was won on a big spinnerbait?
Never.
And now you'll start.
I honestly don't remember one.
Since the chatterbait's been out, man, bladed jig deal, there's not been a lot of tournaments won on a spinnerbait, if any.
Yeah, it was a 1 ounce deal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And he wasn't even fishing in 20 foot. He had the boat in 13, but what was he casting into 6 to 8?
Yeah.
On a massive flat.
But now all of a sudden, I guarantee you, I've already seen the guys all on Facebook we got all these big spinner baits and kicker blades. And there's some really great companies that have been doing that for a while. But dude, the Whopper Plopper almost killed the buzzbait market.
Oh, they still eat a buzzbait, sure enough, as I'm sitting here, but they eat that plopper too.
Speaking
I'm a buzzbait fan, man.
I meant to message you this on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know who's back in business, right?
Booger Man.
Yes.
No
Booger
way.
Man. Yeah.
Dude, legendary.
They got them on a website. So this is the ones I need to send you. This is called Prototype Lures. That's, from what I was told, this guy was basically had the mold and everything, but they work really good. But $12 for Booger Man buzzbait.
What?
Yeah,
dude, that
and they only got two sizes. They only got 3/8 and a quarter. The one I always liked was that big giant.
Wasn't that silly? I throw that thing, and my partner was like, "What is that, man?" Because sometimes it would tumble. It was catching that wind. But dude, the bites on that thing, it's kind of like the difference between throwing the little Spro Bronzeye and throwing the King Daddy. You
Yeah.
ain't getting many bites on the King Daddy, but when you do, they're going in the box. Big baits, I've seen it too many times. Big baits catch big fish.
Yeah.
That's what's got me intrigued about that big humble, man. I'm calling up Craig, man. I got his
tell
number.
CP you talk to Baxter.
But,
And
yeah,
you want a big humble.
I want a big humble, brother.
I've
There's a
known
couple guys making some big flat sides out there. The shallow running, you know.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see and compare. I've seen him on Insta. I ordered one. I ordered some from him, but you know, he kind of held his hand up and he goes, "Would you throw that?" And it was this giant flat side. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'd throw that and make a few."
Yeah. It's
Make a
crazy.
few.
Right now, it seems the popularity on the underground tackle stuff is wood baits and then swim baits.
Yeah,
And in fact, even wood swim baits,
sure.
But man, I will say I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for making a quick buck. But I see a lot of guys out there. I don't see no fish in your profile picture. If you're asking $50 for that bait, I'm not paying it.
True.
I'll pay it to a guy I know that's fishing it all the time and works his butt off. I'm not going to pay it to bait flippers.
No, because there's a lot of jokers in the business, man. And if you can't, I need to see I want to see a swim video that's clean looking, and then I want to see some cast to catch, right? Yeah. I mean, you talk to the dudes that really know swim baits, and they're putting a Huddleston in their hand for the money. I mean, if it's a soft one, right? I mean, and there's some pretty storied hard baits out there. There's a lot of poor hard baits right now, right? The casting and the plaster, whatever the hell the material is. But and there's some good ones. Gancraft, I've seen that. Yep. That is a stupid bait, man. I fished a big bass tournament with my buddy Austin Neary. The kid went to Western Carolina on a baseball scholarship, got hurt his freshman year and sophomore year. They yanked his scholarship. He was like in despair. And I said, dude, man, you love bass fishing more than baseball. Why don't you become a pro? So he started the club down there, became president, and came home for Christmas. And I had watched Southern Trout Eaters, the DVD, Matt Peters. And I was just like seeing stars. I'm like, man, I'm going to take one of them big ass baits up to Western Maryland. There's a lake that I visit, and I have family up there, and I'm going to catch the Maryland state record. You think I've been up there throwing that bait yet? Nope, but I will.
Yeah, so there's also that. I get sucked into just, oh God, that looks good, and I see a swim video, and then I see a catch video. I'm like, okay, that'll work.
Yeah,
and I just don't ever throw it.
I know. There's just so many baits and so little time, man.
Do you ever have a hard time getting ready for a tournament, or say I got this lake near me I call Lake X, and you're welcome to come anytime you can get a chance to come out here, and it's full of giants. But it's kind of my bait testing ground. They don't bite every time. I've been out there twice trying to film a TV show and not get a bite.
Yeah.
But I get ready to go, and I'm like, shit, I forgot this, or what about this, or what about that? And I'm like, Then I'm like, dude, I've got this huge duffel bag full of stuff. And I get out to the end of my driveway, put in my partner's boat, and they'll be like, oh, did you make sure you got this? Oh, yeah, I got to go right back to my garage. I have a bad problem.
I'm like a golfer with like too many swing thoughts in his head.
Yeah.
But I've just seen it. Like I saw you use that show that Imakatsu waddle bats on your last video, dude. I was like, because I found that thing years ago. I took that out. And my buddy's throwing a -1, and I'm throwing a waddle bats, and he's in the front of the boat, and the fish are on the shallow wood, and I'm seeing everything. And where he's cast, he's casted the prime lies everywhere a fish should be. And I'm coming behind him, throwing that waddle bat. It's like they'd never seen it before. And the truth of the matter, they had never seen it before. Right. I waxed him that day, man. It was crazy. And until I gave him a bait, and he gave up on the -1, I threw the regular size one and the big bats.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. 3 snakeheads that choked it and bass. It was nuts. It just shows me, and that's why I hunt for the baits. And of course, there's the staples in your box that will work: flat A, DT6, 1.5, right? And then you got your wood bait favorites that just flat out catch them. But I'm still always looking for that.
We're always searching for that one bait that's different.
Yep.
That's why Ben Parker made that big spoon. Nobody done that. And he had this idea, dude, freaking jacked him up.
And how much money's been won on that thing over the years? If
a lot of money.
I'm not
just Kentucky Lake, but Gunnersville, Pickwick, Wilson. Sure. I mean, Mikey Balls throws that sucker in Florida and catches giant fish.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's a tennis elbow making lure right there, man. Hey,
It
I know you
will.
got to get to work soon, so I respect the schedule, dude.
Yeah, man, we got about 10 minutes here.
Okay,
I
cool.
was going to tell you on the wattle bats. I'll tell you how I come across it.
Yeah, how'd you
Was
find it? When
YouTube.
did you find it, man?
I was on YouTube just looking at I was looking at a jackal bait that I knew was going to come out in iCast, and it was like in a suggested video.
Yeah.
And I clicked it because I saw the blade on the back, so that's interesting. And I see this bait like hunting, like 3-4 feet across, and I'm like, what in the world?
Right.
And I shared it on Facebook or something, and this dude messaged me. His name's Rick. He's a great guy. He's from Illinois. We've become really good friends. He's my JDM guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you want one of those baits or a couple of them? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'll be at Kentucky Lake in like 3 weeks if you want a couple. I'm like, sure, let me know how much I owe you. So he comes down, we meet, we talk baits for like an hour, just at his boat here at Fast Eddie's in the parking lot.
Yeah.
He gives those to me. He's like, no charge, man. And,
wow.
and I swapped some baits with him or whatnot. But
sure,
he's been my JDM guy. He's brought me like some really good small finesse football jigs from Amakatsu and depths. Don't have big hooks, made for real finesse fishing. But when I took that wattle bats out and I tossed it in a little pond over here, and I made about 10 cranks, I went, oh gosh. But I just haven't had the conditions for me to pull it out. You know,
sure.
Our lake goes up and down, and the current's high and whatnot. And what used to be that yellow flowers bloom would be awesome. That just hasn't happened in the last few years, and that's what I'm wanting. When that water's like over that bank grass, those yellow flower blooms.
That's
like
it.
But
That's
that's where I want that wattle bats going through there. You know, some of the guys just throw a spinner bait or a chatterbait and whatnot. Those bass hadn't seen nothing like that.
No, and that's where I use it on the tidal fisheries. You know, on that shallow grass. It's post spawn in particular. You cannot burn that bait; it will blow out.
Yes,
you can't overpower it. But post spawn, when they get on that shallow wood post spawn, dude, it's like I mean, I gave one to my buddy. We were in a tournament. I'd caught a 6'8", you know, dragging a lizard around with a 1/4 ounce. And I'd lost a giant on a little speedy. The net broke that day. And then I brought out, you know, midday, high sun, little bit of whisper of wind going on. I brought out the wattle bats and I started going to work. And he's go, I got to have one. I'm like, here, dude. And I had changed out the hooks to the Gamakatsu number 5s because they're thin wire. And he was bending the hooks out. I'm like, dude, we got to change the hooks now. And but we both started catching them. It was just crazy, man, to see the fish react. Because, of course, he had -1s in his box. If you're a shallow grass fisherman on these rivers, you have a -1. You're burning it in the summer.
I got -1s. It's been years since Kentucky Lakes had grass.
Yeah, right.
I remember my dad's, you know, they're that old. But we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to ask a couple quick questions. Are you going to a classic?
I may do that. I haven't decided yet. Travis is going down there from Smallmouth Crush. I might just get a hair and drive down, man. Because
we need to get Travis on here.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
I met Travis a couple years ago. He may not remember me, but I was working in tackle shop, and he had the Everstart Championship down here, Stren or Coastal, whatever sponsor it was at the time. He came in the shop, really nice guy. I could tell he's very intricate what he was looking for, and he did really good here on a really tough Kentucky lake, and he was very nice to me, and I'd like to hang out with him again because I'll be honest, this place has got some big old smallmouth. It doesn't get talked about like the places up north and Dell Hollow, but Tennessee River here, we've got giants.
Yeah, it's legit, right?
Yeah. But the problem is they're a ghost fish here. Like you cannot depend on them. Like the way with the fluctuation in the water and the current, like today would be a great day to go out there. Not a lot of overcast, but you could probably find them pinned up on a point somewhere, a giant school with the amount of current to run it. But then 2 days later, there's no current and they scatter. But
they just go.
I mean, I caught a 7-pounder years ago.
That's unbelievable.
I know there's 8s in here. I've seen them 8 in, but you just don't have the volume of the 2 to 4 pounders like all these other lakes. You may come out here to go largemouth fishing with the A rig and go stumble up and go, wow, I caught 2 6-pound smallmouth today, but you may never catch another smallmouth. You know,
ain't that crazy?
Need a guy like Travis with his smallmouth expertise.
That's right. That's right. He'll crack the code.
All right, real quick. You got all-time favorite baits. Let's go. What if you had 5 rods and you can only put 5 baits, and let's just say you're going somewhere that you know you're going to catch fish. It's loaded. What 5 baits are you tying on?
What time of year?
All right, let's just do pre-spawn when they're ready to eat. You know they're gonna bite.
Oh, you know I got a flat-sided bait on, man. I'm probably bringing my CP baits out. So I got a flat-sided balsa. I'm probably gonna have I definitely have a flat A just because I'd be probing that deeper, area in pre-spawn. I've caught so many big fish on my flat A over the years, either a pre-spawn color like a pre-spawn crawl like this orange crawl right here,
Oh yeah.
yeah, spring crawl color. I'm gonna have a shallower flat-sided balsa bait. I'm probably gonna go with I'd say a D bait. I gotta have my D bait to cover the shallower bite, right? So that might be my crankbait selection right there. I'd have a DT6 too. I gotta have a DT6 in the pre-spawn. It depends. If I'm down like somewhere like, I don't know, Uray, I'm probably gonna have a wiggle wart on, no doubt. Are we just talking crankbaits? Are we talking everything?
Any bait you want.
Oh man,
chartreuse dynamite does not count.
I'm having a chatterbait on. Gotta have a chatterbait for pre-spawn wherever I am. There's no question about that. I might have a blade too, man. I might have a spinnerbait and go old school just to cover some water, You
will hardly ever find me fishing pre-spawn without a spinnerbait tied on.
Yeah.
I may not pick it up, but I'll have one tied on.
Yeah, so I'm covering water. I'm definitely have those 3 baits or those 4 or 5 baits for sure right there. Spinnerbait, chatterbait, multiple crankbaits.
That works for me.
Yeah.
I got to get to work. So, dude, we could talk for like 3 hours. We need to have, we'll get you on the video. We'll do a special edition of Baitland Live on a Saturday night, and we'll split screen in some Skype.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome, man.
These people will flip out.
I'm totally down for it.